The Rise of TripAdvisor, Steve Kaufer's inspiring journey. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the incredible journey of Steve Kaufer, the founder of TripAdvisor. From a struggling software company to building one of the biggest travel platforms in the world, his story is packed with lessons on resilience, entrepreneurship, and the power of user reviews. So grab a seat and let's get into it. Let's rewind to 1985. Steve Kaufer, a bright computer science graduate, co-founded a small software company with two of his university friends. But no, this wasn't TripAdvisor. It was a different company focused on selling software that helped developers detect bugs in code, the so-called books, or errors. Things were going great at first. The company grew, sales increased, and before long they had a team of 160 employees and were making around $80 million in revenue. But success can be fleeting. As the company expanded, the sales started to decline. What seemed like a thriving business began to shrink rapidly. Over the years, the workforce was reduced from 160 people to just 12. By 1998, more than a decade after its founding, Steve's company was on the brink of bankruptcy. With no other option, they had to sell the company, and it wasn't a great deal either. They sold it to CompuWare, but Steve walked away with little to show for it. Just a salary, some small benefits, but certainly not enough to change his life. It was a tough pill to swallow, but Steve didn't see this as the end. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity to learn. He later admitted that the lessons he learned from the company's downfall, particularly around poor sales management, would be crucial for his future success. And that future success wasn't far off. In the same year, 1998, something happened that would change everything. Steve and his wife decided to take a vacation to Mexico. They went to a travel agency to plan their trip. The agency recommended Playa del Carmen and presented them with 3 hotel options, one expensive, one cheap, and one in the middle. Steve, being frugal, suggested they choose the cheapest option, but his wife had one more request. Why don't you look up some reviews online, just to make sure it meets our standards? So Steve took to the internet expecting to find honest reviews, but to his surprise, all he found were polished photos from travel agencies. No real opinions from people who had actually stayed at the hotels. He wanted something real. He wanted to see what actual travelers thought of the place, but it was nowhere to be found, and that's when it hit him. If he was struggling to find real user-generated reviews, surely other people were too. Steve realized there was a huge gap in the market. People needed a platform where they could read real reviews from actual travelers, not just slick marketing materials from travel companies. But Steve didn't jump into action right away. He was still reeling from the failure of his first company and needed time to think. For a while, he shelved the idea and focused on other things. However, the seed was planted, and it didn't take long before Steve decided to give the concept a shot. By 1999, Steve had started working on what would eventually become TripAdvisor. At first, he named it TripEar, and the idea was simple: help people search for real, authentic reviews before booking their trips. The travel industry was already starting to move online, so the timing was perfect. Initially, the idea was to create a B2B, business-to-business model where Steve's company would license their review search engine to other travel companies like Expedia, Yahoo Travel, and American Airlines. However, this approach didn't gain much traction. Travel companies didn't want to pay for the service, and Yahoo even misunderstood the proposal, thinking Steve's team was offering to pay them. But just when things seemed tough, they landed their first client, Lycos. The deal was simple. Lycos would pay TripAdvisor a percentage of the revenue generated by ads placed on the TripAdvisor search engine hosted on Lycos' site. Things were looking up, but then came the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. The travel industry took a huge hit, and when Steve received his first payment from Lycos, it was a mere $500, far less than what he was expecting. Realizing that the B2B model wasn't sustainable, Steve decided to pivot. Instead of relying on travel companies, they opened TripAdvisor to the general public. It allowed anyone to leave reviews and photos on the site, creating what's known as user-generated content. This was a game changer. People didn't want polished corporate reviews. They wanted real opinions from real people. The site grew rapidly as users flocked to leave reviews, share photos, and help other travelers. With traffic increasing, TripAdvisor adopted an affiliate model, charging companies like Expedia 50 cents per click when users were directed from TripAdvisor to their booking pages. This strategy worked brilliantly, and the company quickly started generating significant revenue. By 2003, TripAdvisor was thriving. They ended the year with $20 million in revenue and just 30 employees. Their success attracted the attention of Yahoo, the same company that had turned them down earlier. Despite Yahoo's interest, TripAdvisor didn't sell to them. Instead, Expedia came in with an offer of $200 million, which Steve and his team accepted. The company had gone from an idea in 1998 to a multi-million-dollar acquisition in just 4 years. However, not everything was smooth sailing for Steve personally. That same year, his wife Caroline was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and tragically, she passed away in 2005. Steve continued to lead TripAdvisor for many years, expanding through acquisitions and philanthropic efforts, particularly in cancer research, in memory of his late wife. By 2021, after guiding the company through the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, Steve stepped down as CEO. So what can we learn from Steve Kaufer's journey? First, failure can be one of the best teachers. Steve's early setbacks laid the foundation for TripAdvisor's eventual success. Second, being adaptable is crucial. Whether it's a global crisis or a failing business model, being able to pivot when things go wrong is a key trait of successful entrepreneurs. And lastly, never underestimate the power of user-generated content. TripAdvisor became what it is today because it gave people a voice, and that's something every business should remember. Thanks for sticking around. If you found this story inspiring or helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you're interested in more entrepreneurial stories like this, drop a comment below and let us know what you want to hear next.